want to pray.
The only thing that can scale up that we possess, the only thing that can grow to infinity is the love of the heart. So that is the message of the Diwali, and that is the right way to pray. Good morning, everyone. Let me begin by wishing everybody happy Diwali. Diwali means, as perhaps all of you know, it means festival of light. That's the literal meaning. It's a bit of a complex festival. It's usually celebrated over 3 days. Today is day one, a day dedicated to Krishna. And some people celebrate it over 5 days, but regardless of those individual variations, the most important day of Diwali is tomorrow, the middle day, and that's when we worship God in the form of Divine Mother, in the form especially of Lakshmi. Now, the overwhelming bhav, the overwhelming feeling of Diwali, I remember as when I was a kid, there are a lot of festivals in India. There is, I once counted this, the number of major festivals in India is about 3 times the number of festivals that we celebrate here. And given that in India both Christian and Islamic festivals are also celebrated, it's a very festive country. There's a lot. And among those, the one that every festival has its own special thing. In some, you look forward to the food. Janmashtami is something that we look forward to the food. The only bad thing about it was you had to wait until nighttime to eat the food, and you were invited to fast, which none of us did, but still food didn't come until nighttime. And each festival had, a Ganesha festival was very good because you ate fairly early in the morning. So all of these food you didn't anticipate, instant gratification, you are done. Even in the midst of all of those experiences, Diwali stands out because the overwhelming feeling of it was one of joy. There is nothing special that's done to make it joyful. It's almost as if every ritual and everything that you do leading up to and during Diwali just feels that way. The entire community is celebrating as if something great has happened. Now, hold that thought for a moment, because contained within the rites and rituals of Diwali is a very deep lesson on what is the best way to pray. And when we think about the best way to pray, you can think about it in perhaps that question, split it down into 3 sub-questions, divide and conquer. So what are the 3 sub-questions? One is, who are you praying to? Are you praying to, His Holiness, Your Majesty, somebody way up there? So that's one question. I'll come back to that. The second question is, what words do you use to pray? Are those formal incantations written in an unfamiliar language, or sanctioned prayers that you are asked to do? Or is it something more personal? You know where I'm going with this, of course, but I want to slow walk you to that epiphany, because there are many things to be learned along the way. But the third aspect, who and what, the third aspect is, how do we approach this entire transaction of prayer? What is the outcome? What are we expecting out of it? And this is actually kind of it's really the key question in this entire prayer equation. So keep those things in mind, and let me now come back to Diwali. I told you that the rites and rituals of Diwali contain clues of how to pray, meaning at some level they address all of these 3 sub-questions of how to pray. So I'm speaking now mostly as a guy that grew up in India and celebrated over 30 Diwalis there. And here's what happens. There is this anticipation and the days are getting darker and darker. The rains have stopped. There's a hiatus in the rains. You've just celebrated Navratri, and you're taking a bit of a breather after that. And then you're about 5 days away from Diwali. Okay? And then what happens is we begin to clean the house. Okay? It's a deep cleaning. It's not just a casual sweeping or vacuuming. Everything is cleaned, and even things like a rusty bicycle, a little pickaxe that nobody has seen in years, all of those are cleaned. And sometimes you paint your house fully. And the day before Diwali, this was back when a reliable supply of water wasn't necessarily available, so every house had storage tanks. The day before, all the old water is tossed out and new water is filled in. And then today, which is the first important day of Diwali, we are made to take an oil bath. We use the word bath a little bit fast and loose in India. Think of it as a shower. And what you do is you scrub oil, or somebody scrubs oil, more to the point when you're a kid, all over and really until your skin is raw, and totally cleans you. And so the leading up to Diwali is primarily one of intense cleansing. And then comes the day of the festival itself, tomorrow, where every house is lit with tens, even hundreds of lamps. People custom prepare lamps for this purpose. These that you see over here in front of Master and Babaji there, you see those little decorative lamps? They are handmade. People hand make it in house, tens, hundreds of those lamps, and then they light it, and it's quite a spectacle when you're walking through any neighborhood or a community. Because remember, Diwali is a new moon day. The skies are dark on that day. And then you worship Divine Mother in the form of Lakshmi. And I'll tell you a little bit more in a moment, but just keep those terms in mind. The Indian calendar every day is divided into auspicious and inauspicious times. So for example, approximately 96 minutes before sunrise is the most auspicious time to meditate. So it has been written. This is non-fungible. You don't fool around with things like this. And every 48-minute period within a 24-hour day is divided into 3 categories: very auspicious, somewhat auspicious, and very bad. Okay? I'm not making any of this up, and there are formal names to all of these. And the worst time in the day is the 2 hours and 24 minutes that follow sunset. This is, you don't do anything, you don't even pray at those times, because it's considered the darkest hour in the day. Now here is the paradox that lies at this joyful festival of light, that is Diwali. That's why I described all of this, to give you a bhav of it, so I can point out the paradox and then get us from there. Tomorrow is, according to the Indian calendar, the darkest day in the year. Okay? And the puja, the actual hour of the festival, is done during this most inauspicious dark hour. The term for it is pradosha. And the pradosha hour. So on the darkest hour of the darkest day, where things are inauspicious, you assert a completely alternative reality of deep cleanliness and joy and light. Why is that? The only other festival which is like this is Shivratri. It also has these odd little paradoxes in it. Well, the reason is Diwali is a metaphor for life. That, when actually not just this life, the soul's long journey through multiple lifetimes. That's why Festival of Light actually, metaphorically is the entire story of Diwali. So when you listen to it today, kind of pay attention to it from this lens. Anyway, it's a metaphor the soul's long journey through multiple lifetimes, that we start out when we are young, filled with choices, hopes, aspirations, unlimited possibilities, and so on. And then slowly the fragility of life is such that nothing seems to work exactly the way we want it to. As decades pile up in our lives, account book, nothing seems to work exactly the way we want it to. And even when it works, even when we realize our aspirations, somehow it falls flat, or there is something else that happens which just spoils the mood of the whole thing. And this should be familiar experience to all of us. And then slowly things begin to build up, and there comes a time when nothing goes the way we want it to. Everything goes to hell in a handbasket. And you're sitting there and you kind of say, what now? How did I get here? This darkest hour of the darkest day of the soul's long journey, in which the heart has constantly reached out for its contentment, for its satisfaction. You kind of say, what now? Why am I here? And there is a choice to make at this point. What do you do on this darkest hour of the darkest day, whether it's outside or on the inside? Well, you can kind of retreat further, close the doors of your house, and wait for the darkness to pass, another rebirth, and then you kind of start this entire cycle of life one more time, start with the same aspirations which are guaranteed not to work, and so on. Or, in the darkest hour, the darkest day, you can tune in to a larger reality. Cleanse the heart of impurities. Light the lamp in the hearts, even though it's dark outside. See, this too is not I, this too shall pass. That kind of feeling. Then you take the worst time to pray. Say, okay, well, Lord, I've forgotten you all my life. And now here I am. I know this is completely inauspicious, but then I got nowhere else to go. Okay? So you light the lamp, wait for the darkest hour, and then assertively pray. To whom? So this is about the attitude that in the transactional thing of prayer, which isn't transactional at all, but we need to start somewhere. The attitude is, well, whatever's happening to me outside is not me. There is a larger reality. The light that I seek is already inside of me, even though I have painted myself into this odd little corner of darkness and despair. That is not I. So you cleanse yourself, wear new clothes. That's another thing about Diwali. Everybody gets new clothes. You wear new clothes, light hundreds of lamps, and say, I know that's what's happening outside, but that's not me. And then, who do you pray to? What is the form? It is the form of Lakshmi. Now, Lakshmi, gaze at that for a little bit. It's the form of Divine Mother, of course, the most tender, the most affectionate being. I mean, there are, of course, any number of bad mothers unloving mothers out there, but by and large, it's the mothers in our lives with whom can say, okay, Mom, I want dinner. And you know it's going to be there, right? So, Mom, I just fell down, and you know some kind of help is going to come. It's that trusting, tender, affectionate form. It's a Divine Mother. And there are many forms of Divine Mother, actually, in India. One is Saraswati, the goddess of learning. They say your mother is your first teacher, goddess of learning. And then there is Kali and Durga, Divine Mother in the forms of Shakti, power, to transform ourselves. But the best form, the most beautiful form of Divine Mother is one of Lakshmi. And Lakshmi is the goddess of prosperity. So think about that for a moment. Often she's called the goddess of wealth, meaning, you have depictions of Lakshmi holding a bag of gold and gold coins dropping all around. It's a little bit of a, not exactly grotesque, but slightly misunderstood representation, shall we say. But goddess of prosperity, what that really means is it's not about asking God, okay, well, I need about $172,000 in order for my life to be exactly perfect financially, so that's what I'm praying for. That's not prosperity, but prosperity is the trust that is going to say that no matter what I want, I know it's going to be there. I know you're going to give exactly that to me, Divine Mother. Not what I want, but no matter what I ask for, I will trust you to give me exactly what is right for me, what I need right at this moment. Having that trust in life, can you imagine going through life with that kind of trust, that exactly what I need is going to come to me at the exact time? That is the very definition of prosperity. And the goddess that represents that is Lakshmi. So gaze at Lakshmi for a moment. In the darkest hour of the darkest day, when everything across lifetimes has not gone the way that we wanted, despite our best efforts, we light the lamp of God's love and worship God in the form of the Mother who is going to give us not often what we ask for, but exactly what we need. And there is no doubt in anybody's mind. Mom, I'm hungry. Food is going to come. Okay, sometimes you don't get the pizza you deserve, but okay, this is good for you. And you are willing to accept that. You see what I'm saying? So this is both whom we pray for and what is the nature of that transaction. What is the nature of that prayer transaction? So perhaps because of this vibrational quality, I have to tell you, if you are ever in India during Diwali, you'll just see the joy that's pervasive. It's pretty extraordinary how that is. Then the next question is, what are the words that you use when you pray? Well, there are these ritual prayers, you could say those in Latin or in Sanskrit. There are any number of those. There are mantras, 2 of which we chanted this morning. And there are sanctioned prayers. Our Father who art in heaven, it's the Lord prayer. In India, they are called stotras, S-T-O-T-R-A-S. And in fact, the official prayer of Diwali is a stotra. It's a prayer to Lakshmi, which among other things contains 108 of her names. And the prayer that's often recited today for Krishna is the 1000 names of Lord Vishnu. And these all sound awesome. You can Google these, and if you are of that mindset, they all sound awesome. And there is obviously value to any of those. But then there is something else that can be done that is even deeper. Swami Kriyananda says that the best prayer that you can utter is the one that comes straight from your heart. And the reason for that is Yogananda used to say that God created us so that he could enjoy himself through each of us. And what is implied and actually said too is that each of us is a unique expression of God, and therefore our relationship with him is also unique. So judging how we pray or judging our relationship with God in terms of somebody else's is really not that useful. Right? You might look at somebody and say, wow, she really knows all the scriptures inside out and knows the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita. Every time I talk to her, I get so much insight. And she might be looking at you and thinking, wow, he has so much devotion. My heart is like a dried up prune. I'm not going anywhere. Look at him, he's going to go someplace else. Well, that kind of borrowing from somebody else doesn't really work, and it especially doesn't work when you're talking about prayer, that it comes sincerely from the heart, and as Swami Kriyananda puts it, that it's honest and most of all trusting. That Master Yogananda said that God already has everything, and he went further to say God is everything. But the one thing that even he doesn't entitle himself to is our love. The only thing that we can give is the love of the heart. So the best prayer one can utter is one that expresses our love for God in the most creative, direct, and frank way. There's a very interesting episode in the ministry of Jesus. He's going to a city called Capernaum, and the centurion of that city, centurion is it's a title in the Roman army, and so it's the Roman garrison, the head of the Roman garrison in the city of Capernaum. His servant is about to die, and he's a very beloved servant. So this centurion sends emissaries to Jesus. By now, Jesus' fame has spread far and wide as a healer, and everybody knows he's something special. He speaks with the voice of God. So the centurion sends emissaries to Jesus saying, Lord, please come and heal my servant. And then Jesus goes. And as Jesus is nearing the house of the centurion has second thoughts. His second thoughts are as follows. He thinks, oh, I am not worthy of having the Lord under my roof. And in fact, I'm so unworthy that I cannot even go to Jesus and say that I'm unworthy of having you under my roof. I'm really so unworthy of being in Lord's presence. So he sends another set of people to Jesus who is approaching his house. And he says, Lord, please don't come. I'm unworthy of you. I know I called you before and you've been kind enough to come all the way to the gates of my house, but please don't come. Now, if this stopped here, he could say, okay, this is kind of a folly, but I understand. But the centurion goes one step further. This is where it gets really interesting. Then he says, Lord, however, don't come to where I am. I'm totally unworthy of you, but you are all powerful. Will you please remotely heal my servant? Okay, isn't that interesting? Now, here's what Jesus says. What do you think Jesus said? Let me read directly. It's from the Gospel of Luke. When Jesus heard these things, he marveled at him. He marveled at him and turned around and said to the crowd that followed him, I say to you, I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel. And those who were sent, returning to the house, found the servant well who had been sick. You see, that's how prayer works. That this centurion, his faith was so great, his love for Jesus was so great, that he said, please come, completely trusting. Mom, I want food. Food is going to be there. Please come. And Jesus came, because he sensed that. And then, as it says in the Bhagavad Gita, it's a beautiful translation called the Song Celestial of the Bhagavad Gita by Edwin Arnold. And in chapter 12, he's translating a verse and the translation is, if even in this thy faint heart fails, then bring me your failures. See, that's what the centurion did. Lord, I called you, but I'm totally unworthy. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you to see me like this. I want to purify my heart. But please, will you heal anyway? And Jesus said, what faith? It's found not even in Israel. You see, that's the secret to prayer. God is infinite. God is omniscient. God is omnipresent. God is the spirit beyond all creation. God is ever existing, ever new bliss. But when you're down in the dumps, these descriptions don't matter much. God is infinite. The intellect cannot scale up to encompass an understanding of infinity in itself. Our body, even through our service, it cannot scale up enough to earn the grace of God, because the grace is infinite. The only thing that can scale up that we possess, the only thing that can grow to infinity, is the love of the heart. So that is the message of the Diwali, and that is the right way to pray. Thank you.
Keep calling him, keep calling. calling him, keep calling.